Hi, everyone. I want to welcome you to a menopause webinar that we're having today. Thank you for all of you for coming. I'm just going to share my screen and I'm going to wait a minute or two because people are signing in. Sarah, can you see if you can sign people in or you can't probably, right?
I can't.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll figure that out. But I want to welcome you guys again. It's 12 o'clock on middle of summer, pretty much July. I'm going to share my screen and we'll get started here. If you can put in the chat, I'm just going to see if I can see the chat. Where you're from. Where are you from? So we can get to know you through the chat. Are you in California, Oregon? So go ahead and put in the chat where you're from and even what you want to learn from this webinar. Hi, Liz, California. Oh, we're getting so many more people signing in. We had a lot of people sign up for this webinar here. So San Diego, Diana, welcome. Marlene, Kelly, welcome everybody. We'll get started here. So again, I want to welcome everybody to Menopause Unlocked. Say goodbye to belly fat, brain fog, and fatigue for good. And what we'll be covering today is America's healthcare crisis, stress, hormones, and health, the underlying cause of your health condition, and how to take action to protect your health naturally. Our goal here, sorry if I pause a minute, I'm just continuing to let people in. But our goal here is to provide you with a lot of education that may be missing, right, in our current healthcare system. So you know how to take back your own health and be your own health advocate. What we're going to offer is a free 15-minute call at the end of this webinar and really listen to what's going on with your health, what your questions are. Many of you here are already patients of both Dr. David's and mine. So we just want to welcome you. And we just hope to give you more information in this webinar. So I'm going to introduce, hang on one second, our team. I'm just going to move things around so I can see what's going on here. So before we dive into what we're, wanting to talk about, the heart of this conversation, I want to introduce who we are. Sarah Watt, who is our beautiful office manager, and she's here with us today, and she'll keep an eye on the chat as we go. So if you do have any questions, she will be here to answer them. And Sarah will do her best to respond. Sarah is often the first person our clients connect with, and that's for a reason. She's kind, she's patient, she's super smart, and it has a good sense of calm in everything that we do. Marlene's saying hi to you, Sarah. And so she's not just handling the logistics of the practice, but she's helping people feel cared for, heard, and never alone in this process. If you've worked with us before, you've already know Sarah. And so thank you, Sarah, for being here today. Dr. David, Joshua David, is here. He brings over 25 years in clinical experience in regenerative medicine, hormonal optimization, and functional care. He's based in Portland, Oregon, where he has a practice there. And he specializes in men and women's optimization in hormones, as well as prolotherapy and pain relief therapies that help clients avoid surgery, which is just amazing. There's a lot of people out there that have back pain, and the first thing the doctors do is tell them to get surgery. So he helps to avoid those kind of surgeries and recover your strength. His work supports people in aging well, staying active and restoring what's been lost, not just physically, but emotionally and mentally. He's a true healer. I'm honored to work with him. And what sets him apart is not just his clinical experience, but how deeply he listens and cares. And many of you already know me here. So I'm a board certified functional health practitioner, and this work is completely personal for me. I started my own health journey ages ago and deep in my life-changing ways when my son at 22 was diagnosed with cancer. He looked strong. He looked strong back then and healthy and on the outside, but wasn't feeling well because of the labs we caught a condition that he had. He had thyroid cancer. So through these labs and what we do and the combination of what our team can do, he's feeling amazing. But so many other clients have um, experienced things that they don't know the answers and how to feel better. So I care deeply about helping people. So does Josh. So does Sarah. So we are compassionate about where you are in your health journey, and we're honored to share this time with you. So thank you again for being a part of our webinar today. So this is a client that was skeptical. She had tried so many different things. She Nothing stuck. She couldn't find the right practitioner. And plus, there's so much information. You go down the Google search, and there's just so much information that people don't know what direction to go to. She needed to lose weight. She had brain fog, just all the complaints that we hear in both of our practices. But she decided to enroll. We decided to take her, and she just dropped 15 pounds, had her energy back. She feels strong and clear. And this is a client that we have um, in Costa Rica. So we service people all over the United States. But she didn't know how good she can feel until now. So this webinar is for you if you can't lose weight, you struggle with mood swings, you have brain fog, you wake up at night and can't get back to sleep, and you hear everything is normal from your doctor, but you don't feel well and you suspect hormonal imbalances, but you don't know where to begin. So we just want you to feel like yourself again. And many of you probably feel frustrated, right? So I want to turn this over to Dr. David because I just want to have you, after my introduction, and I probably should have introduced you and given you an opportunity to speak, but speak to this frustration that you see with many women in your practice or men.
Well, first of all, thank you for the introduction. It was nice to say all those things. And, it really just comes down to people coming in not feeling well. I mean, that's the basic commonality there. They've been to their primary care doctor typically, they've been to their OBGYN, and they've had a lot of tests run, everything comes back normal, but they don't feel good. They don't feel like themselves. The weight is a frustration for a lot of people. Energy is huge. Not being able to sleep, anxiety, and these are all things that a lot of people do get put on pharmaceutical meds for, and they're extremely limited in how they curve the outcome. And I know we're going to get into that more, but the commonality is definitely just coming in not feeling well, and this is men and women. Um, Typically 30, 30 years old and up, and it's definitely the frustration is there, like you said, Melissa. They've heard, they've been to many doctors. I heard one patient referred to their endocrinologist, and she had hirsutism, and the endocrinologist, and that's excessive hair on the body due to hormonal imbalances. And the doctor told her, just you just have to get used to being more like a man. And those type of statements just are rampant, because, and it's not really, this isn't a doctor bashing session at all, because the doctors that attempt to help people, they just don't have the answers. And so a lot of things that come out of their mouth are their own frustrations of not really knowing what to do, or you're just getting older, or you're just those type of things. But truly, people just want to feel good, function good, be able to have fun with their family, get on with life.
Right. And they don't know how good they can feel until they know, right? And We just
No,
want you to become your own
no.
health advocate and be educated on what's going on. And everybody is so unique. It's not that you're broken or that you have to feel like you have to age or that's an aging problem. It's more that you've never been taught by providers how to catch things early. So we talked about this. Most doctors are frustrated too, because they are frustrated as well, because they're trained to follow a standard of care, not root cause care, not trained in nutrition, hormones, gut health, or detox. They have very limited time, right? Like about 10 minutes or so with you, and insurance doesn't pay for a longer visit. But it's not because they don't mean well. I mean, I'm very grateful for some of the MDs that, trained in conventional medicine, but we have to work together in this system. So,
Yeah, I mean, one
yeah,
thing I'll just interject real quick. They're actually a lot of these physicians, most are trained exactly the opposite. So they're trained to basically, it's dangerous, that it's not going to benefit someone. They don't get into the diet or the gut aspect because truly it'd just be too much. I mean, they don't have knowledge in it. And Melissa, I mean, you know considerably more than most physicians when it comes to gut health and metabolic, you know, importance. So they literally are kind of in a way just told what if there's a drug to be prescribed, that that drug can be offered, but otherwise, it's like there's nothing else out there, and that's the impression people get. There's nothing else out there.
right. It's our system, right? It's
I'll end with that.
we're put in the system. When Josh and I were doing the slide deck, we actually dug into some of the stats that we're going to get into here later in this webinar, but they're shocking. They're completely shocking that a lot of the big pharmaceutical companies are funding the medical schools and their curriculum. And the curriculum is speaks to what diagnosis can we give them, put a label on, and what can we prescribe, right? And they rarely talk about lifestyle, nutrition, prevention is, I mean, I can say greatly ignored. And 70% of all Americans are on at least one pharmaceutical drug medication. So do you think, and you can put this into the chat, there's a woman that's probably in her 80s. She has 5 different medications. Do you feel that this is common? It's called polypharma, right? Where there's multiple medications. So put in the chat, is this common or uncommon? And don't be afraid to contribute in the chat here. Yeah, common, Marlene. It is common. And what we're finding, and Josh, I'm going to speak. So his name is Dr. David, but we work closely together. So I call him Josh. So I'll be referring to Dr. David as Josh. But what do you see? I know that you get people off different medications, right? So you can, yeah. So I'm just reading the chat as well. Sarah's going to moderate that. So if you do have any questions,
Well, I mean, yeah. So I mean, right. Well, it's definitely common. Like I said, that's kind of what is being offered in our primary care setting and even OBGYN setting. It's just meds, and or even in cardiology and urology. I mean, it's just big pharma all the way. And so people, and the interesting part is that different doctors are prescribing different meds for whatever field they're in, and then they don't really cross reference the meds. They're just like, well, you're having urinary issues, take this, or whatever, depression, take this, high blood pressure, take this, but they're not communicating between each other, and so there's no really evaluation of the patient as a whole. And the interesting thing too, and this early on in my career, I basically was starting out as a solo practitioner, and I had a lot of time on my hand at that juncture after getting out on my own. And so I started learning more about the biophysiology behind the medications people are on, essentially to look for alternatives that would recreate some of the biochemistry, biophysiology that drugs try to mimic in the body more on a more natural setting. And what was interesting is I would take people off medication, probably more cautious these days, but almost universally, people would just start feeling better. And then I was getting them supportive, more natural medications to try to duplicate the effects of blood pressure medications or anxiety medications or whatever it was. But to be honest, I think it was just getting off some of the chemicals and that that and not all drugs are bad, and they can be used selectively, but they're true evaluation of the patient, and that's what. Go ahead.
Is you're glitchy a little bit in your, is it everybody, can you hear Dr. David? Yeah, glitchy. Yeah. So it's just the Wi-Fi.
Right.
Yeah. So we'll do our best. Thank you, Shauna.
Sorry.
So this is a stat. This is what it means for you that, and again, like Josh has mentioned,
I can hear you now. Yeah. Can you
okay,
hear me?
I can hear you. Maybe not.
Yeah. Sorry.
Okay, we'll do our
We'll
best.
iron out the technology.
Yeah, the Wi-Fi issues. So what this means to you, some of these stats are, yeah, Judy. Hi, Judy. Yeah, you can ask questions in the chat. It sounds glitchy. All right, so hopefully it will work itself out, you guys. Sorry about the glitchiness. So this is one of the stats that we had discovered that 88% of all Americans are metabolically unhealthy. Conditions are managed, not reversed, right? So patients feel dismissed and rushed, and the system is not designed for healing. So the average adult over 50 is on 4 different prescription drugs, medications. And this is often managed to symptoms caused by other medications. So 1 in 3 hospital admissions is in older adults are related to adverse drug reactions. So this is what we talk about. I mean, let's just stop for a second, because if we're given multiple medications and the rate, I think in one of the slides that we put together, is the mortality rate goes up significantly when you have multiple medications. And the thing is that our body is not designed to necessarily take these medications. Yes, they're good to get you over the bridge, but what is causing the root cause of your condition, right? So we want to be preventative in the way that we approach things, in the way that we think, the way that we educate. So polypharmacy increases the risk of death by as much as 22%, and especially when medications interact or suppress core systems. The top 5 causes of death in the US are heart disease, cancer, stroke, diabetes, and Alzheimer's, and all are rooted in metabolic dysfunction, yet often treated with long-term meds, not lifestyle change. A study, I'm still entering people into the webinar here. A study from 2000 to 2008 showed that FDA-approved drugs only improve 5-year survival rate by a 2.4%, particularly in cancer patients. And while the quality of life, and that's all we want, right? Like we want the quality of life. We don't want to feel not well. And so it's kind of like the pharmaceutical companies they make us not feel vibrant and alive. It's kind of under the radar of not quite well, but not quite dead. So we become a lifetime customer to the pharmaceutical companies. 88% of the US adults are now metabolically unhealthy despite record prescription use. So what this creates for you, you're handled medications without clear answers. You're told that you're normal, that just basically go home despite what you feel, and bounce between specialists with no one seeing the full picture, confused by conflicting advice. And you go down the Google search and you get more confused, but chronic symptoms labeled as the new normal. So, why quick fixes don't work? Most medications attempt to suppress symptoms and do not address the root cause. We're taught to treat pain, fatigue, anxiety, reflux, or sleep with a quick fix. Drug overrides your body's signal instead of restoring balance. This creates dependency and side effects and confusion over time. So, basically, knowing your biochemistry leads to clearer, more confident choices. Research indicates that up to 80% of chronic diseases include heart disease, stroke, type 2 diabetes, some autoimmune conditions. We're finding now more and more research are saying that we can cure an autoimmune condition. And certain cancers are all preventable. So if 80% of these chronic diseases are in our hand that we're in control of, then why do we need all these medications? And again, we're not poo-pooing doctors, or, I mean, you're a doctor, Dr. David, but
Can you hear me now? Because I think I fixed the microphone
okay,
issue.
good.
Is it
Yeah,
better?
it is better on my end.
Okay, good. Okay, good.
So far,
I
so
don't know, something happened with the microphone.
okay, wonderful. So this is the cost of poor health in the US. So $3.5 trillion are spent each year on healthcare. 90% of all healthcare costs go to chronic conditions. And remember that, 80% of these chronic conditions are preventable. And the US spends nearly twice as much as any other developed countries. Despite high spending, the US ranks 37th out of 40 in overall good health outcomes, right? So we're in the bottom of the list. Do you want to speak to this, Josh, at all?
Well, it's pretty self-explanatory. I mean, we are not doing well as far as a nation when it comes to healthcare. It's
Yeah.
pretty horrible.
And we're,
Yeah, the amount of cost is just astronomical as compared to other industrialized nations, and it keeps going on up and up, and then people's health, including children's health, keeps going down and down.
yeah. And don't you, I find in when I meet with people that, these kind of chronic health conditions are happening younger and younger. Like, for example, my son who had cancer at 22, right? I wish I had run his labs like at 16 so it could be more preventable. But we're seeing people like with early onset dementia in their 50s. It's not an older age condition anymore, right? Do you see this in your practice often?
Yeah, absolutely, and it's horrifying. When it happens, it's one of the worst things I've seen. Is just the cognitive dementia, Alzheimer's, affecting couples at relatively young age,
Yeah,
and you don't, and like you said, it's more of an evaluation that needs to occur early, because a lot of these people you wouldn't even guess that they were unhealthy at all.
right.
But getting the information that, in particular, that you get, Melissa, is crucial.
Yeah. To answer, I'm just going to stop here. So, Marlene, you're talking about how, like, toxins, and that is a huge part of our piece of the puzzle, right? We need to open up our detox pathways and allow our liver to function optimally, because our liver is the biggest organ for detoxification. So yes, it's a part of the picture. I just wanted to answer that really quickly. So you deserve more than just pills. We don't want you to land in the ER or be blindsided by a diagnosis that could have been caught early. So the question could arise, like, what happens when we do have a condition, right? Like, we can have IBS, we can have, um, any other kind of, like, metabolic condition, pre-diabetes, an autoimmune condition. So once we already have the condition, we have to treat that condition, but then we also have to get to the root cause, right? So we can prevent more of those kind of conditions. So it's kind of a two-part series that we have to work through. So real health takes time. It's not a quick fix, and symptoms show up long before your labs do. So you deserve more than a pill. So most chronic issues are treated with multiple medications. I mean, this we just keep kind of reiterating this, but you deserve more than a life managed by pills. Do you want to talk about that at all, Josh?
Well, one thing that's worth mentioning is that a lot of these drugs that are commonly prescribed, you know, they're not well understood, and then the long term problems are coming out as we go along. 10 years, 15 years, 20 years of taking these drugs, and I mean they're leading to certain cancers, they're leading to neurodegenerative issues, they're leading to even cardiovascular issues, and these are the answers we're giving people. So it's quality of life is always kind of in the back of everyone's mind, but disease prevention is also huge. So I think that's what we're talking about is being able to function, feel your best, but also prevent, prevent heart attacks and strokes, prevent cancer, diabetes, all the top diseases that we tend to be contending with. The neurodegenerative issues is huge. So
It's huge, yeah.
yeah.
So this is a client that I've worked for years, and she started working with Dr. David, what, like a year ago or so? And so she
I think
wrote a
so.
test. Pardon me?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is why we teamed up, really, because this, what she speaks to, is the combination of what we do. People feel so much better. I mean, even my daughter, who I had to get her healthy again. She has Hashimoto's, and then she started working with Josh on optimizing her hormones, and the combination. She said she's going to do it like a little testimonial, but she's like, Mom, I never knew I could feel so good until I started feeling really good. And the way that so my daughter's a singer songwriter. I'll just tell a personal story, but she couldn't do the work that what she was meant to be put on this planet to do if she didn't feel well. And that's my core reason why I am so passionate, is because we all have a lot to give this world to each other. And I want you to feel the best, to stand on that foundation so you can start to feel the best and do the work that you are meant to be put on this planet to do. Candice is a client, and she's worked with me for several years, cleaned up her diet. Um, and then I partnered up with Dr. David and signed up with him and got her hormones sorted out. And it hasn't been an easy journey, because we talked about it's not a quick fix, but it's been so worth it. And the quality of her life experience has never been better. So again, to that point, quality of life is extremely important. Do you have anything to say here? You don't need to. I can just move on. Oh, you're good.
No,
Okay.
I think that's reiterating where you can go when you get actual help down that pathway to good health and an excellent quality of life, not just skating by it.
Yeah. So are you waking up tired, feeling sluggish, drained? Insomnia takes over. Are you not getting any sleep? Do you wake up in the middle of the night, staring at the ceiling? What we're going to go into in a little bit is really digging deep into hormones, into diet, into the solutions that we provide. So we're just kind of going over kind of our state of our current healthcare. And now it's about you, and do you feel like you're not yourself, right? Struggling with low moods or even depression, making it hard to enjoy things that you once made you happy? Do you feel fatigued? Anxiety creeps in. On top of that, mood swings hit you out of nowhere, leaving you irritable or overly emotional. You have hot flashes. I mean, we were talking about this together, Josh and I, about hot flashes and how miserable some of, our clients feel with hot flashes. And all they want is just to get rid of them.
Anything to get rid of them,
Yeah.
definitely.
Pain, which speaks to inflammation. With chronic injuries and things like that, we talked about Josh doing some prolotherapy related to pain and all that. But pain could be as simple as just getting your inflammation under control. So let's not forget digestion, bloating, irregularity, gut discomfort. I've had clients that just basically can drink water and feel so bloated as if they're 6 months pregnant. So, and then there's the weight gain, gaining it without reason. I think this is the one of the biggest reasons why people come to me. But this is a metabolic condition, and it's not about exercise more or eat less. It really isn't. It's about getting to the root cause of what's causing this weight gain. Belly fat is what we hear a lot, right? It's like, I want this belly fat to go away. Brain
Yeah.
fog, your hair is suddenly falling out. This is one testimonial that we've had that she felt like she was falling apart, no energy, brain fog, weight gain, all the things that we just described. And even doctors just told her that to eat less and move more, but nothing worked. So she found this program. We put a custom program together, and now she's pain free. She sleeps better, has more energy, and she feels strong. This is another testimonial. She was on 3 different medications. And this is something, that are prescribed if you're on like a PPI or acid reflux kind of medication. It's only should be used short term, right? Because it can cause more digestive issues. But she was on 2 PPIs and one, I believe, anti-inflammatory medication, and she tried everything. She had Now she's off all her medications, and really her why was she's a single mom and wanted to be the best mom that she could be. She was incredibly irritable too, snapping at her daughter, and she just didn't like that. She felt terrible about herself. But now everything has changed. She feels like she's a really good mom and very calm, um, not on her medications, and she just feels really good. So now let's get into this. Let's take a deeper look at how menopause affects your body. So menopause is a natural phase marking the end of a woman's reproductive years. While it's a normal transition, the hormonal shifts can bring triggers of a cascade of symptoms, making many women feel like they've lost control of their bodies. So hormonal changes can also happen at any stage of life. Like Josh had mentioned, you can start at 30, right? So not just during menopause, but these go often unrecognized as a hormonal issue. So we are in a sick care system, not a health care system. And the system is built to treat diagnosed disease and not prevent it. Appointments are short, they're reactive and symptom focused. Insurance won't cover deeper or early stage testing. So when I do my comprehensive testing, a lot of clients want to run it through their insurance and they simply won't do it. But this is where we find the root cause of really what's going on. Medications often, are offered before any full explanation, and we're overloaded with information, right? The information, and we're all unique. Like our microbiome, to person, to month after month is different. So, Josh, you want to talk about these industries are not designed to make us feel well?
Well, I mean, the industry is absolutely a for-profit system. The food industry has got a horrible track record, and I do feel like that is almost brushed to the side because the pharmaceutical industry is so like front line. But yeah, there's just even with insurance, people rely on their insurance for their health care. They pay heavy premiums, and they're getting funneled into a system that's not giving them full health. And the reality is that your health is more valuable than anything else, more than anything in your house and your car. Um, you know, good health leads not only just to better living, but it leads to better relationships. It leads to better, more productive jobs and work, better family time, quality of life for everyone at any age goes way up when your health is intact.
Yeah.
And yeah, the system is really truly designed not to generate health because and they fight it. They fight the things that we utilize to help people with getting optimal or improved health altogether, just because it takes away from the industry. So they want people to be unhealthy. I mean, and it's not. They do understand it. It's calculated design for profits. The shareholder is the most important aspect of that system, not the health of the person. And the FDA does not care about your health. I can tell you that. Unfortunately, that's originally why they were formed, but that's not their purpose at this point. So maybe that's enough
Yeah. So this is
system bashing.
sorry, Josh, you cut out a little bit. So pharma earns, and I should say profits, 85 billion per year, the whole pharmaceutical business. And it is a business. And only 11% of new drugs offer true innovation. Most are just variations of extended patents. And 3 million seniors in a study showed polypharmacy 25% in higher mortality rate. Pharma funds 67% of the FDA's budget. So this is to Josh's point, is that the FDA now is being funded by pharmaceutical companies, which is 67. This is one of the stats that was astonishing to find out. 67% of the FDA's total budget. So they're influenced. So you're marketed to and not educated. So most new drugs offer only a 2.4% improvement. Most gains come with side effects. The cost of Medicare is massive, and the cost to your quality of life is even worse. So large food industries, you want to say something?
Oh no,
Okay.
I'm good.
So
My
75.
I fixed my speaker again though. It went
Okay.
out again.
So 75% of the food supply is ultra processed, it has added sugar, refined seed oils and chemicals, which damage the mitochondria and drives inflammation. So this is where our mitochondria they're in each cell of our body, and we have millions of cells. I don't know exactly how many at this point, but the this is where energy comes from. And if it damages our cells, this is the metabolic health that we're talking about. When the mitochondria gets damaged and it drives up inflammation, you have lack of energy, you just don't feel yourself again. And fructose, especially processed, impairs metabolism. So this affects thyroid, affects lipid panels, affects our gut health, and it's engineered for addiction. So we talked about this the other day about McDonald's French fries. How many of you had McDonald's French fries in your life? You know, you taste them, they're so good. I haven't had them in, I don't know, decades, probably. Well, more than a couple decades. But they're so good, right? And they're addictive, you know, just like Doritos, just like any of these processed foods, but it's engineered for addiction, right? So it's not nourishment. So I would like you guys to put in the chat, do you think there's too much information or just the just wrong information? I'm just reading the chat right now. Ryan, thank you. Thank you, Masha, for putting that in there. Yeah, too much, both. A little both happens. Exactly. Exactly. So the thing is that we do have too much information and we get the wrong kind of information, right? And it becomes overwhelming. So we don't know exactly what information to abide by. Like even as simple as like a particular diet. And it works really well for somebody, but it doesn't work for another person very well. So you guys are right. It's incorrect, Masha, and incomplete. 100%. So, how mainstream doctors have been trained to think, and this is something that you get basically 7 minutes probably per visit. You waited at probably an hour in the waiting room. You finally get to see the doctor, and you have their nurse practitioner taking notes for about 5 minutes, and then you come and see the doctor for 10, under 10 minutes, and they can look at your medical condition. What do you have? Are you sleep? Are you depressed? Can you not sleep? You can't poop, whatever those conditions are. And their second thought, what drug do they need? I mean, this is unconscionable, right? Like you think about like these kind of conditions and let's just give you more fiber or let's just give you an antidepressant. What is going on? Our gut houses our neurotransmitter for serotonin, which is our good feeling hormone, right? And they suppress that. And like I said, if you're really depressed, then an antidepressant could help temporarily, but not long term. So pharmaceutical companies spend billions each year to make us think this way, to make doctors think this way. And this is something that Medicare, so all insurance companies abide by what Medicare says here. Care that seeks to prevent disease, promote health, and prolong and enhance the quality of life is not considered medically necessary and therefore not payable. I mean, so basically, the work that Josh and I do, yes, he has the ability to bill insurance. He doesn't because it's a pain, but insurance doesn't cover prevention. It doesn't prevent or doesn't provide quality of life, right? So, and when we have a surgery like my son did, we're bound to like the insurance companies don't even pay for the full um, surgery and all the aftercare. We're left with like, you know, tens of thousands of dollars. So it's unfortunate. So insurance doesn't cover prevention. Lab work's denied. Appointments are limited to 7 to 15 minutes. Functional labs, detox, lifestyle coaching is not covered. Drugs are reimbursed, and diet and muscle mass ignored. And we know muscle mass is incredibly important for longevity. So people are not getting better and are also wanting the answers. So how did we get here? The truth is chronic stress, emotional stress, physical stress, and chemical stress all adds up. And this is something that Marlene was asking earlier. Um, we've been told symptoms are normal, right? But we are overloaded with toxins, processed foods, and inflammation. And we're told that our symptoms are normal or we're just aging. And many of you are here because obviously the webinar is, related to menopause. But the doctor basically dismisses you and says, this is what we hear all the time, that you're just getting older. And that doesn't feel very good, does it? So most women are doing the best they can with outdated or missing information. Do you want to say anything here, Josh?
I mean, I think you said it. I mean, it's just baffling that these things are not addressed and they're just completely dismissed. And the true realm of health is not even approached. Even when it comes to preventing things like osteoporosis, that's as an example. It's something that is absolutely preventable, and they they'd rather wait to prescribe a bisphosphonate drug that has just a litany of side effects rather than counsel people on how to prevent osteoporosis, which puts a lot of women, menopausal women, in the ER and is just devastating, actually. Um, as far as the amount of people who get hip fractures and low back fractures based on bone loss, which is 100% easily preventable. And that's just an example.
Yeah, no, that's a good example because I know a couple people here that I recognize are concerned with that bone loss. So,
Right.
yeah, maybe, I mean, if you wanted to just speak a little bit about that in depth.
The bone loss.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the the hormonal health is huge. The majority of women are just told to take calcium, which absolutely does nothing. Let me make sure my microphone is working here. Good. Um, so taking calcium really does not mineralize in the bones at all. You need adequate calcium, which most people get easily from just a decent diet. It is truly the sex hormones and even things like vitamin D levels that contribute to bone mineralization. The other thing is resistance training, and I like the resistance training aspect, and that's for everyone, not just the gym people that everyone knows we're talking about, but um, muscle mass is correlated to longevity, like you said before, in a big way. It helps control so many things as far as blood sugar regulation, but when it comes to bone health, like it is 100% correlated to bone health. And if you do not have adequate muscle mass, your bones will actually start to lose mineralization, and osteoporosis is almost inevitable. So that's something that just again is not really covered. But how do you get muscle mass? It's hard when you don't have the hormones on board.
Yeah, or have
They,
the strength or the energy, or you have a
yeah,
strict
I mean,
American diet, which is a slow
exactly,
fad diet, where you're highly inflamed. It's a combination of so many
exactly.
things. Yeah.
So many things, and that goes to just like what we do together, Melissa. It's a combination of things that really truly lend towards the optimal health and optimal outcomes. You can't just pin it on one thing because that's not holistic by definition. Like holistic is getting to the root cause, replacing what needs to be replaced, but also having the tools to consume the right food, digest well, decrease inflammation, blood sugar control. It's all part of the picture. That's when people prevent illness and feel great. And people feel great into you know getting up there in age. It's not related just to getting older. It's related to what we're lacking, and that's why getting the whole picture is so important. It's something you just take the rest of your life too, and
Yeah.
move forward with those tools the rest of your life.
And this kind of these kind of conditions we see that started 10, 20 years ago. So it starts in our 30s, what we're experiencing
Or
today.
or 20s. I mean, I said 30, but I mean hormonal changes. I mean, hormonal conditions can be way earlier. Um, but again, like you said, it would be nice to start, with a paradigm shift of looking at holistic health, teaching our children. Like our children are kind of doomed from the get go because all they're told is to be good and eat ice cream. It's like, and they don't get any nutritional counseling or evaluation. Like all the lab tests you do, Melissa, for kids are almost like non-existent, but that's like the time. That's the time you intervene and get people on the right track, and then
Yeah.
you prevent a lot of heartache and issues that come down the road, including depression and anxiety issues and sleep issues and all the things that people come in to see me for and come to see you, Melissa. A lot of those things could be nipped in the bud early, and then people have a lifetime of knowledge to work with.
Yeah, it's not just like a short-term solution. It's actually making it more of a lifestyle, learning about what is your
Right.
unique condition, your own biochemistry, and what to do to get on the path. I mean, I always like to run labs for my clients, like at least once a year comprehensively, and then create a plan, because no labs are perfect either. So we need to be able to kind of tweak that as we become more and more optimized in our health. So we talk about stress. It's not that we can eliminate stress, right? We're all up against stress, especially what's going on in our world. So how do we manage stress? What we need to do is we need to change our biochemistry on how we can handle stress better, emotionally. So what's going on here? So we've talked about the current medical curriculum. We and we're talking a little bit more about no one size fits all plan or diet. Everybody, like I've helped hundreds of women, primarily women. I do now have more men that are younger in my practice, but there's no one size fits all. So when we go down the rabbit hole of Googling what's the best, whatever, weight loss diet, and we go to keto, you may not be ready for keto, right? You may have too much sugar, blood, glucose and glycogen stored in your muscles and tissue, for one example. Medications, this is the common solution, and lack of hormone education. We're going to get into hormone education here in a few. This is where Josh is the expert. So, root cause healthcare is different, as all of you know. Instead of focusing on quick fixes, we take a deeper dive into root cause. And are you willing to do something different? So, choosing the right path. I know many of you, I recognize all of you, not all of you, but many of you here. And we've had a lot of signups for this webinar. So, we're going to send out the replay to you as well. But we want to stop managing and start healing. We want to challenge the status quo, choose proactive, not reactive care. I feel like our healthcare system is very reactive. Thankfully, right? Like if we get in an accident or we break our leg, I'm very grateful for this reactive care. But we all have the power to change our life, our health, and yeah. So investing in your health is the most important decision. You are the best advocate. So when we start addressing the root cause, amazing things happen. We improve our energy, we get better sleep, we have sustainable weight loss. So it's not just a quick fix weight loss program. We have mental clarity and enhances our libido. Many of our clients, and I know that particularly Josh's patients, talk about low libido, both in men and women, and he'll get into that in a second. But we can't stop aging. We can't stop aging, but we can be proactive. So, eating real food to help heal our body, keep our blood sugar steady, um, protect our heart, protect our immune system, lower inflammation, and calm autoimmunity. Our health is our own responsibility. So, in each step, we don't have to take great leaps, but we want to take small steps that really matter. So, in these solutions that we work on, our nutrition, detoxification. We talked about, Marlene was asking about toxins. They're everywhere. Like I just reposted something on my Instagram reel about how the dryer sheets, like the non-static dryer sheets, are one of the biggest hormonal disruptors. They're like crazy hormonal disruptors. So removing just simple things like that can help mitigate our toxic overload. So, hormonal balancing, education and mentorship, and movement and muscle mass development. So, most of us have been living in survival mode for too long. I mean, I talk to many, many women, so does Josh, and we hear these stories of just people not feeling well. And they're basically in survival mode. So, these are the 5 pillars that we work with: detox, nutrition, hormones, fitness, and mentorship. We talk about gut and digestive issues, bloating, heartburn, leaky gut, food sensitivities, nutrient malabsorption, history of gallbladder issues and removal. There was an article I read that it was like I don't remember how many millions per year get their gallbladder removed when we didn't need to. Just like, Josh is talking about bone density is preventable, right? Or, promoting our bone density. Same with gallbladder issues. We just need to get to the root cause of what's going on so you don't have to have that surgery. So detox is designed naturally in our body, but with our modern environment full of toxins, it can overwhelm it. We just have to get back to this detox process. Nutrition as well. So when we're metabolically healthy, we can lose weight easily. Plateaus or resistance to weight loss kind of disappears. We have less energy crashes. We have less irritability and mood swings, and we avoid all these chronic conditions like pre-diabetes, diabetes, cancer, etc. So basically, sluggish metabolism is, equals like low energy. So hormones. So this is where Josh is going to really dig deep into our educational process here with hormones. So hormones are like the command center of our body, and when they're balanced, everything works beautifully. So I'll just go through these slides, Josh, and you can speak to them.
Okay.
So these hormonal
You want
symptoms.
me to start?
Yes, I mean I can read them, but people can read this too. All these hormonal symptoms are basically what you're talking about, right? That can
Well,
start when you're in your 20s.
right. Right. So, I mean, just to kind of get a clarity of it, you have your sex hormones, estradiol, testosterone, progesterone for women. And then you have hormones like thyroid that, have to do with every bit of cellular metabolism, detoxification pathways. And what we don't necessarily want is our hormones to be quote unquote normal, especially as we go through menopause and menopause for men. If your hormones are in the normal range for a menopausal woman, that doesn't mean anything. And equally the same for men. If their testosterone levels are in a normal range, it's pretty much a worthless, and that's what it's chalked up to by the primary care docs in our system, unless they've gone outside of their original education. If you fall in that normal range, if your thyroid stimulating hormone TSH for thyroid is in the range, there's no problems. But I don't feel good, doctor. I don't have any energy. My hair's falling out. My skin is dry, and all the symptoms that can relate to hormone or to thyroid. Yet they're dismissed because their TSH is in normal range. So we're talking about hormones. We're talking about optimizing hormones. Optimizing hormones for women typically includes estradiol, progesterone, and testosterone. Testosterone is completely overlooked for women, but hugely important. And then for men, it's testosterone, and estrogen typically follows when you optimize testosterone naturally is aromatase into estradiol. There's an idea of blocking that for men. It's a bad idea. It actually causes impotence and vascular injury. So those are the sex hormones, and then thyroid is so important and so overlooked. I'm kind of like I feel like I was put on this planet to put on everyone on thyroid, but the reality is I think there's just so much in the environment that is interrupting thyroid health that the majority of people out there, and especially as we get older, but even much younger, thyroid is just not functioning where it should be. Again, it's chalked up to normal because TSH is normal. But I can tell you from experience that almost everyone, I mean, the percentage is huge, that if they get on the right thyroid medication and get into optimal levels, they not only feel better, but all their parameters get improved. Their digestion improves. Their detoxification ability improves. A lot of people will mention, I can't have a glass of wine at night because I feel horrible the next day. And when their thyroid is actually in good standing, their body actually metabolizes that no problem, and they don't even feel those effects. But the sex hormones also are part of keeping your cardiovascular system healthy, your brain healthy, your bones healthy. your eyes healthy, your skin, your muscle mass in good standing. So all these things are incredibly valuable, and becoming a person who's not going to just, for lack of better terms, fall apart and then have it chalked up to just getting older. It's unacceptable to just say you're just getting older. Um, that does not stand up when there's just options for us to like mitigate the effects of getting older, which are extremely not only safe but effective. I'm pretty pragmatic in how I function. I don't have patience for things that don't work or don't have results, you know, tangible results. And when I see people's lives just completely changed, both men and women, because their hormonal health is now optimized. It's truly rewarding because it pretty much benefits everyone. Um, and again, not to be in the normal range, but in being optimal range. It when you get to that point, people generally eliminate all their medications, including antidepressants, anxiety medications, sleep medications, blood pressure medication. The list kind of goes on and on. And I don't want to talk too much because I'm going to take up too much time here. But that's the gist of it. We really want to optimize the hormones rather than just be in the quote unquote normal range.
Thank you. That was all good information. So we can talk about cortisol, the stress hormone. High cortisol from ongoing stress wears down our skin, weakens our immune system, and disrupts sleep and drives belly fat and weight gain. So cortisol is very similar to insulin. So those two can trigger cortisol, and glucose dysregulation can trigger insulin, which is a fat storing hormone. And this is most people in menopause do get insulin resistance because of decades of what has been happening for you in your life prior to menopause. Insulin, so what it does, it regulates blood sugar. Blood sugar spikes can age you faster. And this is something that, I am really nerdy about, is just making sure that our blood sugar is pretty stable, and how a food and composition of food really affects this particular hormone. So estrogen balance matters. Do you want to talk about this a bit? I know you talked about
Sure.
it.
Well, I mean, estrogen is just a key hormone for both men and women. Especially menopausal women. At that point, they're not producing estradiol from the ovaries at all. So when that happens, I mean, that's going to affect a huge part of brain, uh, protection and brain health. So not only cognitive decline, but that neurodegenerative effect you see with Alzheimer's and dementia. And estradiol is probably the biggest protector when it comes to those things. Um, I mean, the list goes on. Cardiovascular health, how people feel, their ability to burn visceral fat, all relates back to estrogen. So huge hormone. It can't be overlooked. And the other part of estrogen is it's one of those hormones that everyone is scared of because somehow it's going to cause breast cancer. That's really been um, disproven with huge amounts of studies and interventional trials. People get confused because of the Women's Health Initiative that was done 20, almost 24 years ago or something. I believe it was about 24 years ago, but it was done based on Prempro, which was the chemicalized version of hormone replacement. Prempro was the drug version of getting women back their hormones. And it wasn't a great option because, in particular, the progestins, which were taking the place of natural progesterone, obviously had some issues. And it came out in the study. When the study came out, it clearly showed there was some problems, especially women over 60, 65 and older. So at that point, everyone got the message, got the memo from the pharmaceutical industry. Oh, well, all hormones are bad, and they're all lumped together. And it's a shame because it's not a drug now. The hormones are bad, and the doctors are told, "Yep, the hormones are bad. Don't do it. It's going to cause cancer. It's going to cause vascular accident, things like that." Furthest from the truth, but again, that comes back to the manipulation in the drug industry.
Yeah. Isn't it true that like too little creates like dry skin, bone loss, brain fog, and mood swings?
100%.
So it's kind of finding that right balance, not like Goldilocks.
That's right.
I mean, Goldilocks and the three bears. Okay, so why does testosterone matter? I know we're running over a little bit. I hope, I mean, if you guys have to leave, which I see a couple people have to get back to work, but we'll go ahead and send you the replay and in an email. So keep an eye open for that. So why does it matter, Josh?
Testosterone is huge for collagen production. It's an anabolic hormone. So instead of you just breaking down, um, you have the ability to reproduce collagen as you go through life, and replenish your tendons, your skin, your muscles. Um, it has to do metabolically as well. It contributes to burning that visceral fat along with estradiol. Um, it does have a role to play with libido with both men and women hugely. And obviously with blood flow. Testosterone has the component of producing quite a bit of nitrous oxide in the vessels, so it keeps those vessels pliable, which is the key to keep it, warding off atherosclerosis, is essentially hardening of the vessels. One of the biggest things that people don't realize is you only get plaquing of the vessels if they start to harden. So if they're pliable, you will not get the plaquing. It has nothing to do with cholesterol levels. That's the biggest misconception. It has to do with hardening. So keeping nitrous oxide at optimal kind of levels keeps those vessels from getting hard and plaquing, and that's when you get problems.
Yeah, that's awesome information. That's really, really good. I know that low testosterone is creates more muscle loss, low energy, mood changes, and all that, right? But when you get the optimal level, you increase your metabolism, you get leaner, strength, and vitality. But I love that about the arteries. So this we talked about the thyroid, the master regulator. Do you want to talk about that?
Right. So thyroid, I would say the majority of people, I would say more women than men, but I can tell you a lot of men I put on thyroid and benefit the same. Um, it's one of those things that definitely lends to energy loss, increase getting sick and illness, when your thyroid is not optimal. And again, most people's thyroid is normal with the standards of mainstream medicine. TSH is in normal range. No one touches it. But when it's well understood, it affects everything. It affects your energy, your cognition, your skin, your hair, metabolism is a huge part. The detox pathways, that's something that's totally overlooked. But, memory and mental clarity, you just can't have it unless your thyroid is functioning well, not just normal.
Thank you. So growth hormone. This is something that we talked about that we're going to be doing. You want to talk about peptides with this?
Yeah. There's a slew of peptides, and peptides are just natural amino acid messengers that tell the body to do certain things. And there's great peptides that actually increase your IGF-1 or human growth hormone levels. And it's a hormone that totally gets overlooked. And so these peptides are accessible, but what HGH does for body composition, your brain, everything. It just plays a huge role. And so even when you get the sex hormones back in order, as we get older, HGH will continue to go down. It's just part of getting older, and if you're able to boost that up, again, your body composition improves immensely. It's truly why like Sylvester Stallone looks the way he does at 80, and these guys, these Hollywood actors and women and men, is one of the biggest, I don't want to put it out there as anti-aging, but the age mitigation effects for people who know is actually HGH, and peptides are a great way of going about that.
And we're going to have a peptide webinar, a free webinar on August 12th, which we're going to send out information with Josh and another guy that is an expert in peptides. And it will be a fun conversation around that. So look out for that. Okay. So everyday habits can throw off your hormones: poor sleep, chronic stress, too much sugar, alcohol, no strength training, toxins, plastics, and products all create this hormonal confusion. Fitness is really incredibly important. As we know, Josh was talking about weightlifting. Many of you that worked with me or are working with me, movement's important, right? But if you don't feel well, it's hard to get moving. And then we start, thinking in our head that we should be doing something more than we physically or mentally are able. So it's all in the right time at the right place, to build up that muscle mass, to kind of utilize the excess glucose from your system. But it has to work for you, and it will support your overall health goals in the right time. We talked, builds muscle, consistency beats intensity, move your body, move your healing. So mentoring, this is where Josh and I come in. And Sarah, of course, she's the frontline person there. She's amazing, very caring. You can come to her with any questions that you have, but it's a really personalized step-by-step support that we offer. And then we create a community as well. We just launched a free community with the thousands of people combined that we've helped. So we want to be able to be the resource for you guys. Lab testing is essential. So menopause symptoms, many of you know that Josh does a bit of a different lab testing that I do. His particular path is for hormones, thyroid, the endocrine system. He can look at other components there, the immune system, where I look at the whole system as well, not just, but looking at what we need to be taking care of. So we can track inflammation, insulin, thyroid, and different nutrient deficiencies. And prevention starts with detection and basically getting the clear answers for the better outcomes that you want. So labs that we run, there's a whole plethora of markers. There's about 90 different markers that we run. And Josh had mentioned something about, if your TSH, which is in your thyroid, is in the normal range, we should ask what is the normal range, right? So in functional medicine, they're tighter ranges, whereas most conventional lab markers from the general practitioners, they're larger ranges. And I think that Kaiser just upped their TSH range to like 8. Whereas in the functional range, I look at between 1 and 2. Josh may have a different range, but it's what we do is tighter ranges to look at prevention, right? What we can do to get you on track.
If someone comes in with a TSH of 8, they probably won't even be able to communicate well.
Yeah. Well, that
That's
happened.
crazy.
Yeah. So I think at the end of 2024, Kaiser just raised it up. Before it was
Yeah.
5, now it's 8. And these are so as lab ranges are usually done in the conventional medical model with unwell people, right? So that's the average. So they just bumped it up at the end of last year.
Interesting.
Yeah. So this approach works because it's you. Here's a testimonial. One of my beautiful clients, she got off her medications, which she was so proud of. She had to text me this. She got off her metformin, and the doctor basically said, whatever you're doing, keep doing it because you're on the right track and you can get off your medication. This is another person that got her brain fog disappeared after 10 years. and this is something that we want to talk about, that Josh and I are so passionate about, is, once we kind of take care of your condition, he optimizes your hormone, gets your thyroid functioning properly, get you detoxing, gut healing, all of that, regulating blood sugar, whatever else that comes up. This is where I like to take you personally. And this is where Josh is, talks about with the hormones, is that this is about body composition, right? You don't, the scale is only one indicator of, right, how much we weigh, but it doesn't tell you what your body composition is. So this lady was only 2 pounds different, six sizes different, but she started recomposing the shape of her body by this approach. So you build up your lean muscle mass, you get into what I call metabolic flexibility, utilizing the fuel sources that our body provides us, and just kind of staying in that lifestyle component to get you where you're feeling great and looking great. For women, I think it's important to look good and to feel good, right? But most importantly, to be healthy. You want to talk about this, Josh?
Well, I mean, just I mean, she looks great, with her body composition shifting, but like what she's doing to prevent all the disease states is incredible. Like she
Right.
burned that visceral fat, which reduces risk of cancer by more than 50%. Cardiovascular health goes, reduction of events go down like 50% or more. Neurodegenerative events, like, so she looks great, she feels great, but she's also like preventing serious problems down the road.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you for adding that. So, and I think also making these lifestyle changes is asking yourself, what's your why? Like what is it that, you know, why do you want to be healthy? I know my why is for my family and the people, I don't want my kids to have to take care of me, be or suffer, while I'm in a home or in their home, or, I want to be active until the day I die. I want to be healthy. I want to prevent as much as I can prevent. There's a lot of things that we can't control in this life, but our health is one of them, to the best of, you know, way that we can. So it's about understanding your body, your needs, and create a sustainable plan. These are the pillars that we work with: detox, nutrition, fitness, hormones, and mentoring. All our plans are custom to you. So they're a step-by-step process. We always try to find options for you that fit your budget, that fit your lifestyle, and we create a custom plan for you. So the next step is that you can call the office. Sarah, who is moderating the chat here, and she's on screen. You can call her directly, and you can book a free consult with Josh or myself if you haven't already, or pass it along to all your friends. We, like I said, we just launched a membership, which Sarah just put into the chat here, so you can check that out. But we're always here to answer any questions that you may have. 1 second. Still learning how to do this. Okay. So this is another client that I had that I worked with, and she lost 20 pounds. Um, the the right side of the red dress is the before, and then the one on the left is the after. It's the same dress a year ago, but you can see in her face on the right hand side that she lost a lot of inflammation. She worked with me for about 6 months and then went over to Josh, and now she's on hormones. So thank you for being here today with us. If you have any questions, you can reach out to Sarah. You can text her as well and email her, or anything that you need from us, just let us know. We're here to help. Um, if you have any quick questions that we can answer, go ahead and put it in the chat, and we will try to get to you. But I think more personal questions or more specific questions related to your health, the best thing is to get on a call with us. So have a wonderful day, everybody, and thank you. We'll be sending you the replay and also more invitations to these kind of educational webinars. Thank you guys so much. Masha, love you to pieces. Um, yeah, so we'll talk to you all later. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Melissa.
Thank you both.